And I'm not a feminist, so please don't take this as a feminist rant. I love men.
I'm not a feminist. Please don't take this as a feminist rant. I love men. Men all over this country are trash.
So who cares? Why not do your own thing and let them say what they want?
Cutest little baby.
Say hi. You want to say hi? You're not gonna talk?
Let's start this video, shall we? Okay, hey guys, what's up? I've lost the cat, I've put on some makeup, and we are ready to go. Today, we're gonna be doing something a little bit differently than usual. We're gonna be doing kind of a reaction video, but we're gonna add a lot of substance, so please don't refer to this as a regular reaction video because I cannot stand those kinds of content creators. No offense, you do you. I just feel like you have to add a lot if you're gonna be taking someone else's content. In this case, we're gonna be looking at Tomi Lahren's PSA for boyish men. I saw this, I was like, wow, and I asked you guys on Instagram if you wanted me to cover it, and most of you said yes, but it doesn't really matter because I feel like the majority of you guys are only on there for the tits and ass and don't actually even know I have a YouTube channel. For those of you who have not watched this video, I'm going to link it in its entirety because as I'm a hater of reaction videos, we are not going to be playing the entire clip in this video. I'm just going to be playing the relevant points so you can actually hear what she's saying and so I can more properly argue against what she's saying or put context to what she's saying without paraphrasing heavily, because I feel like that's one of my biggest weaknesses anytime I do this kind of video where I'm talking about something that someone else did. On top of the full video linked in the description, I'm also going to link her follow-up in the description because she does cover some of the criticisms and try to clear up some of the misinterpretations of her words in the first video. I don't think they help that much to contextualize what she said, but I guess I can understand that from her point of view, she really is just trying to help boyish men and not trying to hate on all men. I'm gonna get more into this later, but I feel like we should just start the video and not listen to me ramble a whole lot. But to preface this, if you guys don't know who Tomi is, she's a political commentator, a right-wing one. She holds mostly right-wing tradcon opinions. I agree with her on most things. I don't know her personally. I don't idolize her. I don't idolize anyone, or if I were to say that I idolize someone or liked them a lot, I would still have criticisms because everyone has something that you can criticize about them, even me, even you. I think you can adore someone for their art, the way they look, or one aspect of their personality, but still offer criticism to other aspects that might not be the best. I think we should all be criticized. I think constructive criticism helps us all grow, and I think it's a good thing. The context that we need to put around her personality is that she's a very straightforward, blunt person, and that's why a lot of people watch her. She did a segment on Fox called Final Thoughts or something, and I think she still does that on her personal page. I don't know that much about her, but as a blunt woman myself, as a non-hyper feminine but still feminine girl, I kind of see a little bit of myself in her because I like being blunt, straightforward, to the point, having a strong personality, and also looking like a Barbie doll like she does. She's definitely hot. But the reason this video is so surprising is because she's always been, like I have been, very critical of feminism. The main reason why I'm saying this stuff about her personality is that this rant coming from anyone else would sound like the craziest hyper feminist rant, completely devoid of any respect for men. But this is kind of Tomi's personality, but at the same time, that doesn't really matter that much because in my opinion, this clearly comes from a place of hurt. Anyway, let me put on my headphone and let's go ahead and jump into the video. Don't make fun of my elf ears, you know you like them.
So normally I do Final Thoughts and I do Instagram lives and I do rants about politics. There's plenty to talk about in politics right now. Do it every day, it's a great time. But something, as of recently, has been on my mind. And I consider myself a teacher, a helper, someone who could possibly inspire people to be better.
So remember that part where she says she is a teacher and someone who can inspire people to be better. Because it's gonna come into play with why I think that this style of helping people be better is never going to actually help anyone or change anyone's minds because it's gonna run into their ego and bounce off. You'll see what I mean. Hold on.
So with that being said, this is a PSA for all the men out there and all the boys who think they're men but they're actually boys.
Right off the bat, she's saying that you might be a boy who thinks he's a man. So this basically encompasses every person who thinks that they're a man, which is basically every man. Whether he is doing this thing that Tomi is going to be bitching about or not, it's a very combative way of trying to interact with people by basically telling them that it's up in the air whether or not their sense of self is actually correct. Or maybe possibly Tomi and every other woman would just see you as a boy.
This is going to be the summer of canceling boys. Now, from my own personal experiences and the experiences of all of my friends, which range in age from 24 to 36, we've all got issues. Now, I will also say this. All of my friends are attractive. All of my friends are successful.
Every time she brings up her friends, she also inserts herself into the narrative of someone who has these specific problems with men, and it's really cringe to me because I know that this is just like, hey, here's some weird enigmatic group of wonderful women that I am putting my opinions upon as well, so I don't seem like I'm an outlier in this opinion. It really is just like grasping to people who can't stick up for themselves, adding more people to like oh hey, they think this as well, it's not just me, and I really hate that kind of mindset. It's really cringe every time she says that it's her friends too, and it's so odd that she says that all of her friends are attractive and successful. It's like, why do you only hang out with attractive people? And they probably aren't. She probably has some fat friends. She probably has some friends that are less than business owners that have some large flaws, but apparently all of her and her friends, or just her, which is clearly the only person she's actually talking about. I don't even know if she's ever even talked to friends on a deep level about this, or if she's just currently frustrated with certain men in whatever city she's in, Nashville, I think. It's really just a cop-out to try to hollowly reinforce that her views are the correct views on boys and men, etc. Let's move on.
All of my friends have something going on. Almost every single one of them have an issue with men. And you have to start looking at that and thinking, if an age range of that many people, including myself, living really all over the country.
Look how she keeps trying to add more and more detail into who her friends are that think this way or feel this way to try to take the possibility away from the problem being her. It's so cringe and unself-aware to say, me and all of my friends, or every single time I date a guy, XYZ problem happens, and after a sample size of 100, I'm starting to think it must be all men, and maybe not just me or the types of people that I surround myself with, if, in fact, she does have some friends that have felt the same way. If you're hanging out with women who are only your version of successful and attractive, they're probably a lot like you. And when you hang around people, you do tend to leech certain personality traits off of that person or have some kind of common ground. So why would you not introspect in a way that would suggest that possibly some of those common ground characteristics would be the things that are attracting bad mates or turning men off to you? It makes no sense to me. Why would you look outward rather than inward? I've heard before that women notoriously have this problem of looking outward before they look inward and trying to like put all of their problems and all of the blame on other people. I don't know how true that is. Everyone's an individual to me, so anytime I hear these collective assertions, I always take it with a grain of salt because obviously not every woman, so maybe not Tommy.
And being blonde, brunette, short hair, long hair, I mean, tan, super white, super pale. I mean, these women range in every body type and everything. They're all successful, they're all intelligent, they're all good people. But if all of these women, including myself, are having issues, then I have to think, it might not be us. It might be you. It might be men. It might be men.
Translation: literally every woman everywhere will think the same that I do, as long as they're high value women. And what I think is high value is obviously high value because it's not our fault that we can't get good men. It's men's fault. Again, I want to reiterate that this is a tradcon woman, a traditional conservative woman. She's very right-wing, more right-wing than me, and yet she's spouting off these very typical third, fourth, whatever wave feminist talking points in a very combative way that is never going to teach or help anyone unless they completely drop their ego to the point where they are castrated simps, and at that point she would agree no women want that kind of guy anyway.
Now, I've often talked about the pussification of America and how men are no longer men. I talk to my mom about this a lot, and she says, well, maybe it's just the guys in Texas, maybe it's just the guys in Los Angeles. It is not just the guys in Los Angeles, Nashville, Dallas, and they're not any better in the Midwest. They, quite frankly, I think they're trash all over this country.
They're trash all over this country. And I know a lot of feminists and SJWs think that it is a good way to get across and create allies by saying things like, you are trash, you need to change, but that is never going to reach the eardrums of someone and have someone who has any self-worth be like, oh yeah, okay, that's really thought-provoking and constructive criticism, and not just you literally shitting on me because you have some kind of emotional baggage attached to this. The way she's handling this, even when you correct for Tommy's bluntness, is just straight up feminism. And I'm gonna drop the big hot take of this video here, because this has been basically the gist of the whole video. I don't want my video to be too long and I don't want to take too much from her video, but if you want the full context, again, I really do implore you to actually watch the full video before you make up your mind, because I hate people who make up their minds based on small clips. But I think that this kind of feminism, this kind of entitlement seeps into women across party lines. Like, it doesn't matter. If you are valuing yourself as a strong, independent woman, and you think that that's one of your personal strengths as a person that makes you a better person, a more well-rounded person, and you're right, by the way, but if you take that and conflate that with your place in the sexual marketplace and then get an ego because of it, no men are gonna want to date you. You have to remember that the sexual marketplace and your value within it and your value as a mate, as a partner to someone, is not the same thing as you developing yourself personally, being able to support yourself, etc. There are different things that men and women look for in a mate, and some of the things that make you a strong, independent woman and successful and your version of beautiful and attractive or whatever might not be what men are looking for. In fact, it might make you so egotistical about your self-worth that you start requiring a much higher quality level of man than you are actually giving back to the man in your worth. Most men don't care if you have a career, if they also have a career. Most men are not going to be attracted to a woman who's constantly nagging or constantly bitching or seems really, really strong-headed. And I know this sounds like so anti-feminist, it's like almost misogynistic, but I can tell you, like, my favorite traits about myself, which are probably some of the same traits that Tommy holds dear about herself, are not things that make me a good partner. They aren't even things that really make me anything more than a good friend. And you have to remember that being not agreeable, being argumentative, being strong-willed, and all those things don't make you a good mother or a good caretaker or a good wife, necessarily. There are some guys who like that, and thank Shenron, I don't know, that I found one that can actually deal with me and kind of sees it as a challenge. One who's alpha enough to deal with me being outspoken and being bitchy and having some of the feminist traits that come with being successful and independent, etc. But I also have to remember things that I can bring to the relationship that will actually be beneficial to a man. I don't know about Tommy, but personally, since I don't cook that much, I clean up around the house, I take care of him, I'm submissive in bed, I am very, very ready to please in bed. I'm there as a support system, and I have some of those characteristics that men do want, alongside right now being conventionally attractive, which is a huge plus. Tommy has that too, but how many people are going to stick around with a girl who at the drop of a hat is this combative about something that they want changed in men? Hopefully I'm conveying that properly, but it is really clear that it doesn't matter on which side of the party lines you are. If you're partaking in this new feminist society where women are earning the same as men, where women are doing the same amount of work for the same amount of years, etc. as men, or trending that way, that you're probably going to gain some characteristics if you don't check yourself and introspect that are going to make you less appealing to the opposite sex who's basically doing the same thing, because men don't want someone who's doing the exact same thing as them or who is going to challenge them in their alphaness or masculinity. They want, by and large, someone who can be a feminine counterpart. A strong one, sure, but not a toxic one. Moving on.
In the age range of about 20 to I think about 55, maybe even 60. A lot of men are trash.
She's been dating people who are 55 or 60. How does she know that people who are 55 or 60, my dad's age, are trash? Like, what is that age range? It's so weird. I've watched a lot of Tommy rants, and to me, this seems like one that is completely emotionally driven. I don't think that she's a hateful person. I don't think that she hates men. I don't think that she's a feminist, but I do think she's spitting some serious unself-aware feminist rhetoric here that is not going to help her get a date or anything of the sort. It's not gonna help her change men or relate to men. It's not gonna make men want her. And a lot of it is just piling on random information like the age ranges of her friends or the age ranges of men who are trash in America. It's really odd. And for someone who says, and she says this later in the video, that she's been thinking about this for a while, so much so that she has like notes and stuff, I don't know why this seems so not well put together and not well thought out.
A lot of men don't know how to treat women. A lot of men don't know how to really, quite frankly, pull their heads out of the sand and pay attention. So I am going to help you. And these are some of the things that I've experienced, and these are some of the things my friends have experienced. I'm just gonna lay a few things out. They haven't all happened to me. Some of them have just happened to my friends. A lot of them have happened to me. So, the first thing, and I've made notes. By the way, I've made notes. This is how invested I am in this because I've been thinking about this for about 2 weeks solid now.
2 weeks of thinking about this with notes. By the way, the notes are just like 5 bullet points, but whatever. That's how I would do my notes too. That long, and she still hasn't come to the realization that it quite possibly could be her. In fact, I know this isn't really Tommy's style, but if I were to make a video like this, I would be like, these are the things that are frustrating me. And I would be thinking the whole time, I would be like, maybe this is one of the reasons why I'm not getting men something that I'm doing, or maybe there's just some kind of pussification of men or something to where they can't handle strong women. I don't know. I would be positing a bunch of different things, not all of which would be vitriol toward men in general. Even the men who think they're men but are boys, which is who? None of the men know. I don't know. How are you supposed to know such open-ended shit if you're supposed to be offended at this or not? If you're supposed to take action or not? Or if you're one of the real men? Is the metric by which we judge real men just whether or not they'll date a career woman who's bitchy and bossy? I don't know.
First question for men. If you like a girl, if you're even somewhat interested in a girl, you need to ask yourself this question. Are you single?
Yeah, sure, this point's fine. I think both sides should lay it out and be like, are you single? Because I really care to only be in a monogamous relationship forever, even though a lot of people are in open relationships. I just want to let you know that I'm not doing that kind of thing. That's perfectly fine. If a guy ever lies to you about being single after you've told him point blank that you want a serious monogamous relationship, fuck that guy. That guy's a boy, sure. It's not really anything you can do in a video or rant to make boys like that change into men or whatever the fuck. Or maybe they're just in their fun phase and they're easily getting chicks, so fuck it, let them be them. It sucks that they lied, but their lifestyle isn't a problem. It's not your concern.
The second thing that I think is very important that men don't seem to understand. There are very few women out there, and I'm speaking from personal experience as well as from all of my friends and all the women, quite frankly, that I talk to. There is not a woman out there that wants to be your pen pal. She doesn't want to get your texts, your good morning texts, your good night texts, your random through the day texts, if they don't follow up with a plan to actually, here's the kicker, in person, hang out.
I would want to be a guy's pen pal, but that's because I already have dick at home, so I don't really care to be seeing a guy right away. This point is all about her saying that guys need to make a plan to see her. I think it should go both ways. Once again, if you want this kind of, I have a career, I'm gonna put my career first, I'm a strong independent woman, feminist stuff, you're also gonna have to be making half of the romantic date plans. You're gonna have to put in the effort to show that you want to see him as well. You can't just be wined and dined like a pretty princess, like a delicate feminine flower, like back in the old days, like a traditional conservative would, but then also be this headstrong and this unwilling to bend in anything, especially career and family life, etc.
Do not assume that you can text somebody randomly in the middle of the day, what are you doing? Or text them at midnight or 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or even just within hours of when you actually want to see them and think that they're going to be available. I personally, once I get home and I take my makeup off and I'm watching TV, I'm no longer interested. So if you didn't make a plan earlier in the day, or better yet, a day or 2 or 3 in advance, I'm not interested. I don't want to hang out anymore because that ship has sailed. Make a plan. I want to hang out with you at this time. It doesn't have to even be a date. I want to see you at this time. Are you free at this time? Or when are you free? I will accommodate my schedule to see you. When are you free? I want to see you.
I personally agree with that. If you don't give me like a week's notice, I probably won't see you, but I'm busy and I don't care that much to see you. That's kind of how I deal with most relationships these days. I have like 5 important relationships that I'll make time for and the rest of it's just like meh. This is a personal preference. Some people like to be spontaneous. Some people will text when they're bored and be like, hey, you down? Obviously she's basically beating around the bush saying she doesn't want to be someone's like call up at 3 a.m. come suck my dick bitch anymore or ever. I don't know if she used to be that. That sounds hot. I don't know. But yeah, just set those boundaries. Tell those people that you have those preferences. And if someone is really spontaneous or only wants you for a booty call, again, you're just not compatible. Let them live.
I know it's not rocket science, but men of 2020, it seems like it's pretty difficult for you to figure out. And I'm not a feminist, so please don't take this as a feminist rant. I love men. I think men are great.
I'm not not a feminist. Please don't take this as a feminist rant. I love men. Men all over this country are trash. Even men who think they're men, often they're boys. Like, come on. If you're gonna do this kind of rant where it's filled with passion and emotional baggage, say it up front. Be like, I am pissed off, so this isn't gonna be a clear, concise, level-headed rant. This is gonna be how I feel in the moment, and we're gonna look at this later and criticize ourselves and scrutinize our opinions of this day and maybe look inward later. But right now, I just want to vent and rant, and that's completely fine. But she put this as like some kind of holier than thou, like, I'm a teacher. You're gonna learn from me. Peasants. It will not work, especially on men of value who know their worth and aren't just complete pussies.
Quite frankly, I don't think that there are a lot of women that aren't raging feminists that don't look like Lena Dunham. They're saying these things to you. So I'm going to go ahead and say them because they need to be said. I am really so sick of my friends having to deal with trash men. I am tired of dealing with trash men, so I'm going to help you out.
Always mention her friends first, then say she's also sick of dealing with trash men. Imagine if this was actually the case where like a whole consortium, I don't even know if that's the right word, of women are sitting down together and just bitching about the exact same problems with men, and none of them have spoken up and broken the silence on whether or not some of their traits born by modern feminism might actually be the reasons that they're either picking the wrong men or they're valuing their sexual marketplace standings a little too high and therefore expecting way too much of the men that they date.
There's a lot of women out there that I know that are my good friends who have amazing jobs, who work really hard, but who can't seem to find a decent guy, even if they go up in age 5 to 10 to 15 years, because those guys all want to be with 21-year-olds who have nothing going on. It's very unfortunate. I don't think it's going to be fulfilling, but I would say to the men out there, try to maybe find a woman that you can talk to, communicate with, might actually have her shit together, might actually be ambitious.
Her next point is value. Value is subjective. If you look at traditional standards, which men are still probably biologically wired by and large to go off of, men want sexy, voluptuous, agreeable women who are going to support them, be a partner to them, raise their children, or at least make them feel better when they get home from a long day of work. Now, she doesn't really have any titties, but she is super hot, at least to me. She's not super curvy, she's not super sexy. I don't know how she is in bed or what she's willing to offer on the sexual front, but she is hot, so there's that. But I feel like everything else that I know about her public persona is a net negative when trying to get a man. I always imagine these conservative women to be more like me, where like you see me in a video and you're like, wow, this person is like a bitch or something. I don't know how you guys see me. I try to be pretty level-headed, but I do resort to some colorful commentary from time to time. But in a personal relationship with a guy, I am a complete, like, you can tell me what the fuck to do. I think that's hot. I will try to take care of you. I baby you. And I like that kind of dynamic. But it seems like a lot of these women take that chutzpah, that was weird, I'm not Jewish, that they have in their work life and apply that to their relationships as well, to where they want to be the dominant one. I always imagine that these dominant women in real life, if they're actually traditional in any way or want a man who's a man's man, just like immediately submit to that one guy who's theirs, and they become like this a beautiful monogamous thing where the woman's like, yes, daddy, okay. And then she goes to work and she's like, this, and this. In fact, it's probably a nice reprieve from going to work as a woman who's probably more emotional than her male counterparts, being like this all day. She probably wants to come home and be cuddled and be sweet and be kind and be gentle and be soft like her feminine side desires. I would think biology doesn't usually lie, and that's why I'm that way. I don't know. I like to be a strong person. I sometimes have strong opinions. I sometimes argue with people, but at the root of my relationships with men, I'm the feminine counterpart, not vying to take over the spot of the male in the relationship. So yeah, I don't even know if I responded to the value part, but yeah, she values herself way too high, isn't willing to work for the relationship. Later on, she actually says she won't chase men, which is, wow, off-putting even to me as a woman who finds her attractive and likes her rants like that. It's like, you won't chase a high-value man who's worth it? You won't put any, it just sounds like she won't put any effort in. It sounds like she wants to be chased, she wants them to make the dates, she wants them to do X, Y, Z, and be able to tell them how to change and what to change, but at the same time, I am sure she wants a man's man who is the masculine figure in the relationship, and it does not compute. You can't have both entirely. And no matter how pretty or high value you are, even if she valued herself properly, there's no world in which a relationship doesn't fare better with a give and a take rather than just a take. Take. Like, I'm such a high value woman, oh my god, feminist rhetoric. So please keep giving me everything while I just sit here and be chased. Ugh. I don't know. I'm done with this video. It's kind of long and she goes on more verbosely than I remember. Please watch the full video as I said. Let me know what you think. And you know what? Let's just give you a few of Tara's tips for people who may be boys, but I'm not gonna give you some kind of rude name. I'm just gonna say, here are some tips, subjective tips of course, that I would give a guy who wants to date a woman of value. Yes, put in effort. Putting in effort is good, but if she doesn't give effort back, if she's ghosting you, etc., move on, know your worth. That's the number one thing. You want to know your worth. And see, like even when I'm giving you guys tips, I'm giving it from a perspective of someone who cares about you and thinks you're worthy rather than, hey, you have to get up to this level of worth to even like fucking talk to me. I feel like you would address things differently if you actually cared to help them rather than just cared to vent about your bad past relationships. So knowing your worth, putting in effort, being direct in communication is a huge thing. It's not only a huge thing in sex, it's a huge thing in relationships as well. Don't beat around the bush and be direct, like with what you want in the relationship, with what you think. This actually works well for men with women because women do like strong men who will take charge. So you can do that by being honest and by being direct, and that's probably gonna turn a woman that you would want to date on. Other than that, I would say remember that you're not entitled to anything. You're not entitled to sex or love or anything like that. Kind of just keep your ego in check, and I would say the same thing for women, especially women like this who think that how much money they earn is actually gonna get them an equal level partner. It's just not gonna work that way most of the time. Because honestly, men who have their pick of the litter, first of all, already have the money to support both of them, so they don't really care about the career of the woman. They want to make sure that the woman is there to support them and their potential offspring. And therefore, the more you're away for work, the more you're not there for him when he needs you emotionally, physically, sexually, the less optimal that relationship is for him. If both people are working, it doesn't really matter who it is. Though on a biological level, men will be turned off if the man isn't working much and the woman is, etc. But it doesn't really matter as long as one person is the breadwinner and the other person is a very strong support. It's kind of like in League of Legends and bot lane, you got the ADC and the support. They have their roles. They're equally important. If not the support being more so important, if the support is really, really good, the support can pull through a shitty fucking ADC or like a not as successful man. So a strong woman, an alpha woman, would be a supportive woman who is submissive to her man, not necessarily a submissive woman who just gets beaten up or something, but more submissive than her man for sure. And I would give a tip to women such as this, feminist women who are, you know, attractive, but they think that their personal achievements are going to directly correlate to their mating choices. It's just not the case most of the time. Again, women and men, stop having an ego about certain things because all of that shit is subjective. Nothing actually has any inherent value. So just find people who you feel value you and value yourself and find someone who works. Don't worry about who makes more money. Don't worry about that kind of shit. And women especially, don't keep trying to find a guy who makes $1 billion because you make $1 million. Just find a guy who can fix the house for you, who can be a man's man, who can kick someone's ass for you and your fucking family, who can support and protect you in other ways if you're the one making money. I know we have to adapt because society is becoming more egalitarian, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but I do think that people's mindsets have to adapt, and we also have to take a nod to our biology and remember that that evolutionary model is what's gotten us here to this wonderful egalitarian society that we live in today. That's it. I love you guys. I wish you all the best, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you guys like this. Like the video and subscribe to the channel and let me know what you think. I really do like these kinds of videos because I get to see a lot of different opposing opinions in the comment section. And once again, if you want the more sexy stuff, if you wanted me to shut the fuck up this entire video, links to my Patreon and OnlyFans will be in the description. Until next time, have a wonderful fucking day. Bye, guys. Shout out to Crash Bandicoot for holding my mic this entire video. You a real one. PS1 legend. Bye.